I wasn't even supposed to be on the trail that weekend. My cousin Jake talked me into it. He said hiking the Pacific Crest Trail would be good for my head after everything that had happened. I didn't even own real gear. Jake let me borrow a backpack and boots. 3 days, he said, no big deal. The first day went fine. The trail was peaceful. Just trees, the crunch of dirt, and the sound of our own footsteps. Then we met Joel. It was around noon. We'd stopped at a clearing to take a break. Joel came walking up the trail from the opposite direction. He looked like a typical hiker. Big pack, wide-brimmed hat, tan cargo pants. He smiled and introduced himself. "You guys need water?" he asked. "I've got extra." We thanked him, but said we were fine. He told us he was what they call a trail angel, someone who helps hikers by sharing supplies, giving directions, stuff like that. He even pointed out a good campsite for the night. Jake and I didn't think much of it. Trail angels are common, especially on the Pacific Crest. That night we camped where Joel had suggested. It was a perfect spot right near a stream. We both slept great. The next morning we packed up early. Our plan was to take a less popular side route that Jake knew about. It was longer, but it would avoid some of the steeper climbs. We didn't see Joel when we left, or so we thought. About 4 hours into the hike, we stopped at another clearing to rest. And there was Joel, just standing by the trail like he'd been waiting for us. Same clothes, same big pack, same wide grin. "Mornin'," he said. Jake and I looked at each other. We hadn't seen anyone pass us, and the side trail we took wasn't connected to the main route. "How'd you get here so fast?" Jake asked, trying to sound casual. Joel just shrugged. "I keep moving, like you guys." We forced a laugh. Maybe he knew a shortcut, or maybe he'd left super early and circled around somehow. Still, it felt weird. Joel offered us water again. This time, we politely declined. We said we were heading out and left the clearing as quickly as possible. The rest of the day, we kept glancing over our shoulders. No sign of Joel. That night, we set up camp in a small valley. There was no one around for miles. We were sure of it. At least, we thought we were. Around 2 a.m., I woke up needing to use the bathroom. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent as quietly as I could. That's when I saw it. A large shape at the edge of the trees. It was a person, standing completely still, watching our tent. I froze. My breath felt sharp in my chest. I was too scared to shine my light directly at them, but I didn't need to. As my eyes adjusted, I saw the shape clearly enough. It was Joel, same wide-brimmed hat, same tan pants. He didn't move. He didn't say a word. I slowly backed into the tent and zipped it closed. "Jake," I whispered, "wake up." Jake stirred, groggy. "What?" "Joel's here." Jake shot up and grabbed his flashlight. "Where?" I held up a hand to stop him from making noise. We listened, but when we peeked outside again, the trees were empty. No sign of Joel. The next morning, we packed up before the sun was fully up. Neither of us spoke much. We just wanted to get back to the main trail and head for the nearest trailhead. We hiked fast, barely took breaks, but every now and then, we'd spot signs that someone was ahead of us. Fresh boot prints, a broken branch, a water bottle left by a rock. Joel's water bottle. By the afternoon, we were exhausted and still miles from the trailhead. We came to a fork in the trail and stopped to check Jake's map. That's when we heard the voice. "Need some help?" Joel stepped out from behind a tree, not out of breath, not sweaty, like he'd been waiting. "Trail's tricky around here," he said. "I can show you the best way out." Jake stepped in front of me. "We've got it, thanks." Joel tilted his head. His smile didn't change, but his eyes did. They looked wrong. like he wasn't really seeing us, or maybe he was seeing us too well. Joel shrugged. "Suit yourself, see you around." Then he walked down the left fork and vanished into the trees. We took the right fork. We didn't stop until we reached the trailhead. There was a ranger station nearby. We went in and told the ranger what had happened. Described Joel, his clothes, his backpack. The ranger's face changed when we mentioned the name. "You said his name's Joel?" We nodded. He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. "I've heard that before. A few hikers over the years said they met a guy named Joel out there. Always described him the same way." "Okay," Jake said. "But here's the thing," the ranger continued. "No one's ever been able to find him. And the ones who do see him usually aren't supposed to be on that part of the trail." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" The ranger pointed at Jake's map. "That side trail you took? It was closed 5 years ago. Rockslide wiped out most of it. Nobody uses it anymore." We didn't say anything. We just packed up and left. I haven't hiked since, but sometimes when I walk past wooded areas, I catch myself looking for him. And once I thought I saw him, just a shape between the trees, same hat, same grin, still offering help, still waiting. I'm not the kind of person who gets scared easily. I've done solo hikes all over Oregon and Washington. I know how to read a map, follow a trail, and keep my head, but there's one hike I'll never do again. Not because it was too hard, but because something happened out there that still doesn't make sense. It was late spring when I decided to do a 3-day solo section of the Pacific Crest Trail. I wanted to clear my head after a rough breakup. Nothing like fresh air and distance to reset your life, right? The first day was perfect. Cool breeze. Forest smelled like pine and damp earth. Birds everywhere. That night, I camped near mile marker 38. Took a photo of it. Sent it to my sister to let her know where I was. The next morning, I packed up early and started hiking again. That's when things got weird. About 4 hours into the hike, I passed another marker. I expected it to say 42 or maybe 43, but it said 38. The same as yesterday. At first, I figured maybe I'd crossed another trail that looped back, or the marker was misnumbered. Mistakes happen. But when I checked my GPS, it showed I was farther north. Much farther. So I kept going. By afternoon, I passed another marker, 38th. Same faded numbers, same crack in the wood. It wasn't a copy, it was the exact same marker. My stomach sank. I knew this wasn't right. I checked my map. There weren't any loops. The trail only moved forward, and my GPS still showed I was progressing. Still, I told myself it had to be a mistake. I kept moving. That night I camped again. This time I set up just off the trail, somewhere between where I thought marker 42 should be. I barely slept. Every noise felt too loud. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. The next morning, I packed up and hiked fast. I wanted to get to the next trailhead and get out of there. An hour later, I passed a marker, 38th, same marker. I froze. My hands started shaking. I snapped another photo and compared it to the first one. Same split in the wood, same scratch near the bottom that looked like a letter J. It wasn't a coincidence. I was trapped. But how? I decided to call my sister. My phone had 2 bars, barely enough, but I tried. The call dropped. I texted her the photo and my GPS coordinates. Then I kept walking. I didn't know what else to do. That's when I noticed something new. Tied around the marker was a piece of red string. It hadn't been there yesterday, or the day before. I leaned closer. Attached to the string was a small, folded note. I unfolded it with shaking fingers. 4 words. Turn back, wrong loop. I looked around. The woods were silent. Not even birdsong. My instincts screamed to listen to the note, but turned back to where? Every direction felt wrong. I decided to go back the way I'd come, or at least what I thought was back. Hours passed. My legs burned. The shadows grew longer, but I never saw mile marker 37 or 36 or anything but more trees and more silence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I spotted movement up ahead. A man. He wore a wide-brimmed hat and carried a big pack. Relief washed over me. Another hiker. Maybe he could help. "Hey," I called out. "Can you help me? I think I'm lost." The man turned. It was only then I noticed what he was standing next to. Mile marker 38, the same one. He smiled. "You're not lost, you're just on the wrong version." His voice was calm, too calm. "What?" I asked. My voice cracked. "The trail changes for some people," he said. "It doesn't want everyone to leave." I took a step back. "Who are you?" He didn't answer, just pointed down the trail. "I can show you the way out, but you have to stop looping." Something deep inside told me not to follow him. I turned and ran. Branches scraped my arms. My pack bounced painfully against my back. I didn't care. I ran until the light completely disappeared, and I collapsed, gasping for air. When I looked up, there was a small wooden sign nailed to a tree. Trailhead, 0.5 miles. I bolted toward it, and somehow I made it back. My sister was already at the trailhead parking lot, waiting. She'd gotten my text and called the rangers. They'd been looking for me. But the weirdest part? My GPS location from the text showed a spot almost 5 miles east of where they found me. No mile marker 38 anywhere nearby. The rangers said it must have been a mapping glitch. That I'd gotten turned around. But when I checked my phone later, both photos of mile marker 38 were gone. Deleted. The only thing left was a screenshot of the note I'd sent my sister. Turn back, wrong loop. Sometimes I dream I'm still on that trail, and when I wake up, for just a second I expect to see the marker outside my window. 38, still waiting. I've camped alone more times than I can count. I like the quiet, the way the forest swallows sound at night. Most people don't. They're scared of animals, strangers, or just being alone. But not me. At least, not until last summer. It was supposed to be a simple weekend hike, 2 nights out. I picked a stretch of trail near Mount Adams, remote but not too far from a ranger station. I knew the area well. The first day was perfect. The weather was cool, the sky clear, birds were everywhere. I even spotted deer in the distance. By late afternoon, I found a good campsite. Slightly raised ground, far enough off the trail that no one would accidentally wander through. I set up my tent and built a small fire. As the sun set, everything felt calm, normal, until around midnight. I woke up suddenly, not to a noise, to silence. The forest had gone completely quiet, no wind, no crickets, just stillness. I lay there for a while, telling myself it was nothing. Maybe I had just woken between the usual night sounds. Then I heard it. A whisper. At first, I thought it was the wind moving through the trees, but it wasn't. It was my name. Very quiet, like someone was crouched right outside the tent. Eli. My whole body tensed. My first thought was, it's a prank. Maybe someone else was camping nearby, but I knew no one was close. I would have seen another tent when I scouted the area. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent just an inch. Nothing. The fire had burned down to glowing embers. The woods were empty. I stepped out, shining the flashlight around. My breath fogged in the cold night air. The whisper came again. Eli. But now it sounded farther away, down the trail. I should have stayed in the tent, locked myself in and waited for morning. But curiosity, or maybe fear, pushed me to follow the sound. I walked slowly, flashlight cutting through the darkness. The beam landed on tree trunks, bushes, and the narrow dirt path stretching ahead. The whisper came again. "Eli." Softer, but still clear. I followed it for maybe 20 yards before I realized something. There were no footprints, no signs anyone had walked this part of the trail recently, and then I noticed something else. The ground felt wrong. It was soft, like fresh-turned soil. I stopped, shined the light down. The dirt had been disturbed. A wide, shallow patch like something had been dug up or buried. That's when I saw it. A small wooden sign half buried in the dirt. I brushed the soil away and read the faded letters. Camp closed, site unstable. I frowned. I didn't remember seeing any closures on my map. Suddenly, the whisper came again, but this time it wasn't my name. It was one word. Leave. Every instinct screamed at me to listen. I turned and sprinted back to my tent. When I got there, my camp had changed. The fire was completely out. My backpack was unzipped and everything was scattered. My sleeping bag was rolled up, like someone had started packing for me. But the worst part? My tent had been moved. It now faced the trail. I know for a fact I had pitched it facing the forest. I always do. It's a habit. That way, if anything comes up the trail at night, I'm not caught by surprise. Someone, or something, had turned it around. My flashlight flickered. The batteries were dying. I didn't care. I shoved everything into my pack, grabbed my knife, and started hiking back toward the trailhead. The whisper followed me. Not constant. Just now and then, softer right behind me. "Eli." I didn't stop. The moonlight barely lit the path, but I kept going. My legs ached. My breath came in short gasps. Then I saw something ahead. A man. He stood just off the trail wearing dark clothes, face hidden in shadow. For a second I felt relief. Another hiker, someone who could help. But then he raised his hand and pointed back the way I'd come, toward the whisper. I didn't wait. I ran. I didn't stop until I saw the lights of the ranger station through the trees. When I burst inside, I must have looked like a crazy person. I told them everything. The ranger listened carefully. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "I believe you," he said. I frowned. "You do? You're not the first." He pulled out a logbook and flipped through the pages, showed me entries from other hikers. All from the same area, all reporting whispers, all hearing their names called. Some even described the man on the trail. The ranger said that years ago a hiker named Eli disappeared in that section of the trail. Search teams found his empty camp in shallow pits of disturbed earth, but never found his body. Since then, people who camp too close to that spot report the same thing. Whispers? A man pointing them back, and tents being turned toward the trail. He said I was smart to leave. Many people don't. I haven't been back since, but sometimes late at night when the wind dies and the world goes quiet, I swear I can still hear it. "Eli."